whenever I get into not good enough mode, when I'm making my little setup here with my multiple ring lights, one of my favorite influencers, and I have to call him that because he's making quite a lot of money doing super basic news analysis on YouTube. Bare bones. He just recently upgraded a little bit to edit videos, so instead of like holding up a news article like this, he can, share the screen kind of thing. But that's only recent. And it's just from here to here, the same background every day. He's standing in his apartment talking. That's it. People love him, and he has made a living doing that. I love teaching. I love teaching in front of a classroom. I love teaching workshops and seminars. I like teaching like this. So I hope this looks okay to you and the sound is okay. There's all kinds of noises around here. Everything from my oils diffuser to the girl upstairs. It's whatever. This is very sincere. I listen to different spiritual people, different podcasters, and one of the people I love is a minister. Her name is Joyce Meyer. And she's an evangelical, Bible-based Christian. Not Roman Catholic. She's a best-selling, New York Times best-selling author. She's got plenty of followers. You might know her. I don't know who's watching, if you know who these people are. But she talks about the reality of being raised in a household where her father sexually abused her on a daily basis, and her mother looked the other way because the mother was also afraid of the father's wrath, so she did nothing. Now, Joyce Meyer is a Christian woman, and she took very seriously her obligation to honor her parents. So in their old age, she took care of them. And her father finally repented, apologized to her. Is it ever enough? But being a woman of her word, she did forgive him. But she says it was very difficult with her mother, who knew every day that she was being abused. Now, it's not as clear or cut and dry with me. It's not like my mother beat me where I had black and blues. She was verbally abusive to both me and my father. We were both victims of this woman. And it was a brutal, painful home life. Opposite of how I live now, where everything is peaceful and adorable. Right, Boo? Mm-hmm. He said, So, my father did a few things to escape her wrath. Like yelling at me sometimes, taking her side, saying just give her what she wants. Make her stop growling. Or when my mother would pull her very dramatic scenes on every birthday, holiday, social event, special occasion. And she would storm off and go sulk and cry in the bedroom. I mean, this was just reliable every Christmas morning. Every Christmas morning. Every Christmas Eve, my dad would go out for a drink or two with his friends. Now, we had 2 cars, and she would scream at him, we're sitting here waiting to go to your mother's to eat Christmas dinner. Your daughter's hungry. She's waiting. And I always cringed when she tried to use me as a weapon like that. Like, he's going to be late because it's Christmas Eve and he has friends and he has a life and people love him, as opposed to you horrible. But she would stay and wait for him so she could be mad at him and make a scene. One time she beat him with a broom. Well, I screamed and cried. I was just a little girl. Oh my God. Brutal. Just brutal. The way they fought. And then she would just drive him to, like, Arr! Once time he did. He had her by the throat. Of course he let her go. My father had restraint. But I understand how she drove him absolutely mad. And she was a liar, and God knows the lies that he caught her in. Lise, did your mother? And then he would ask a very sensitive question. Oh, no, Daddy, she would never do that. And I was lying to protect him, to keep the household. During fights, he would play with his wedding ring. You know how torturous that was for me? I was bullied at school. My only peace at school was I was smart. So the teachers appreciated my contributions in class. But I was chatty, was a class clown. I have people who once in a while, like, I'll find them on Facebook and I'll try to connect with them. They won't want anything to do with me. And I'm thinking, geez, you haven't talked to me since grammar school. Really? I just want to, like, look at your kids' pictures, see if you're fat or not. Come on, don't we all do that? Who'd you marry? Like, wow, because I was a weird kid, you don't want to, like, connect with me? I had somebody unfriend me. Like a little boy who I used to play with. I don't know what I posted that could have pissed him off or offended him. Like, oh, really? I was just enjoying looking at you. I mean, we were kids together. No, these people are just not sentimental, I guess. Anyway, bullied at school. And when I came home, I was bullied by her. I loved that she had side hustles and she had to work downstairs because she had a feline boarding kennel. Very successful. She was good at it. Because I got a little bit of freedom. Even though all the shushling and chuchling, the sound would waft up from the basement and it's very painful to my ears. I had to sit still and play. First of all, I was not allowed outside unless I was being supervised. I was not allowed to play with the neighborhood kids. I had kids my age next door. We connect now on Facebook and like, hi. I wasn't allowed to play with you. And I couldn't move around upstairs either. It's not like I could run from room to room. What are you doing up there? If I sang, I'd get yelled at for singing too loudly. If I, even my little dollies, you make your dollies talk. Oh, I'm going to wear this hat today. Oh, what a pretty pocketbook. What are you making those dolls say? I don't know. Silently in my head. That's how I played. Silently in my head. The silent life of the narc-abused child. That would be a good title, right? The silent life. Oh, you have to be silenced. You have to keep their secret so you don't out them as an abuser. If they're a covert narc, oh, God help you. Good luck convincing anyone unless they really see it. My great-nephew only saw it a few years ago when he was visiting and he was helping me, do things in the apartment. Sweetheart, my love. And he heard her abusing me on the phone. And he said, oh, Aunt Lisa, I had no idea it was that bad. I mean, I know she can be a little difficult, but I didn't know it was that bad. And he said, when she finally goes, you have to give yourself permission to feel all your feelings, including relief. Because I know you're going to feel guilty about that. I know. So she tortured my poor father. Things she did. The criticisms, the teardowns, the talking to people she shouldn't really be talking to, the gossip about him, the crazy making behavior. And when I was 11 years old, she decided to stop cooking because he was not complimenting her on her cooking to her satisfaction. So we were on our own. And I would try to cook for my father. I wanted to bond with him so badly. I would call him up at his job. Say, what do you want for dinner, Dad? Until he finally told me, Lise, they have to page me over the intercom every time you call. Unless it's an emergency, you really shouldn't be doing that. Oh, sorry. Is it any wonder how effed up I am? Just always being told that any need of mine was too much. Even to make my little dollies have voices. So, my father, lovable. Everyone loved my father. But behind closed doors, he wasn't always a perfectly loving father. Because he was being abused by her, and he was confused as to how to relate to me. He couldn't be affectionate with me. I think I was 5, and she stopped tucking her in. No more of that. Well, if you do, because he used to put me to sleep, he used to go, tickle, tickle, and, like ASMR kind of stuff. And I'd fall right to sleep. No more of that. She's too old for that. And stop calling her sweetheart. She's not your sweetheart. I was his daughter. See, I have to get this off my chest here. Because I can't say to her, Mom, why did you do that? Why didn't you let Daddy call me sweetheart? I never said that. Oh, God. Here I am alone in my head. Don't talk, dollies. Don't talk. Huh. So do I have some resentment toward my father? Yeah. I took the heat for him so often to keep him from having to suffer. I would be the one who would have to chase her into the bedroom. Mommy, Daddy, sorry. Please come out to dinner. We'd be all dressed up, waiting to go out, and she'd pull one of her stunts. Lulu, come on. Up. Come on. Be on camera. Don't just cry. No. Be awful then. He didn't know how to handle her. She was insane. Really insane. There we go. You're big fat. You're the big fat. You're the big fat. Mabu. We didn't have any peace in that household because of her. And it was always his fault in her mind. Oh my God. See, I'm hoping that by getting these stories up and out of me, see, I don't want to put them in print. I feel funny about that, but I certainly don't mind putting them on video. Well, I don't know why I'm getting molested. Look at this animal. What are you doing to me? It's biting me. He's biting my hair. You're not nice. Why? Because everyone loved my father. Now, if they read in Diary of a Fat Girl, my book, please buy my book. The price of cat food is going up. Buy my book. I say a little bit about him. A little bit. Not a lot. A little bit. He was ashamed. He was embarrassed that I was so fat. He exploded at me a couple of times for being fat. What is this demon that has you? I said, why did you marry a demon? I think I finally spoke up. Oh, Lise, I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess I'm right. You married her because she looked good with your car. Oh, I'm not kidding. She was a glamour girl. With the beauty mark drawn on and the blonde hair. She was super hot. They were both adorable. My parents were adorable. And they didn't have me until 9 years into the marriage. And she was married to her first husband, my brother's father. Excuse me, I have to blow my nose. Sorry. What? Don't look at me in that tone of voice. And she was unhappy in that marriage, and she was doing things. that she shouldn't be doing. We know because we found the records of the private detective her first husband hired to see what she was up to. And there was my good-looking dad with his convertible Chevy. He loved his cars. He loved convertibles. And there she was, the blonde, with her kerchief. And you know, her beauty mark and her lipstick and blonde. And they would go riding around. You know, you drove around and showed off your car. And he begged her. He cried. He wanted to marry her. My cousin Butchie always gets everything he wants, and all I ever wanted was you. I reminded him of that a few times. I'm like, Dad, remember that? Remember how you begged her? Yeah. Funny daddy. She was a seductress. You know, I say narcissist mom, but she had very severe borderline personality disorder traits. What? Stop biting my head. What? Ooh. And you know how they are. I know, because I was an undiagnosed person with borderline personality disorder for a long time, and now I'm in recovery from it. I know how we use our looks and intimacy to manipulate people. I know. And she looked good with his car. And I didn't come along till 9 years into their marriage. And she triangulated. She would definitely poison me against my father. It was awful. And if I ever took his side in an argument, she would just torment me for it. She would punish me for it, withhold things I needed, money and rides and play dates. Because I was allowed a few play dates with like cousins I could go have play dates with. I'd be punished not able to go to the 1 or 2 birthday parties I'd get invited to. And then she would embarrass me, bring me to the door. Don't let her have any cake. The doctor doesn't want her to have cake. So, yeah. He tried to keep her happy just to keep his sanity. It was very hard to keep her quiet and happy. Because nothing satisfied her. And he was not allowed to parent me either. She would scream at him. What are you letting her have that for? This is why I don't let you. Like nothing he did was ever right. That's why this house is so run down. You grew up poor, and so you don't mind. That's a lie. Yeah, they grew up a little poor. But anytime he wanted to improve that house, she would just cause trouble. She would just interrogate and harass and harangue the contractors who would try to work. You know how I told you the story about how I couldn't have somebody come and clean? Because she was, no, don't touch that. No, that's not dirty. No one ever goes in there. Don't touch that. Imagine a contractor trying to install cabinets. I called the carpenter over. I needed the front door frame fixed. She screamed. This is when she was still able to get in her wheelchair. She screamed bloody murder at him. Until he made an excuse. He didn't want the job. He figures, oh, I don't know whose house this is, but if this is I don't want to get involved in this family dynamic. One of the contractors told my father, look, if you don't keep her out of my way and off of me, I can't finish this job. It was adding the addition onto our house. What a troublemaker. And she's still alive, causing trouble. So, yeah, my father, he didn't know how to handle her. How do you handle someone who's obviously mentally ill? who doesn't remember things, who seems to have a split personality, who lies, and he caught her in lies, who was tormenting me, turning me against him, causing problems with his side of the family. I mean, my father drank. Sorry, Dad. Everyone knows he drank. He wasn't a fall-down drunk. He was a 1 or 2 drink a night or a highball and a beer a night, but he needed it to cope. Then he just wanted to sit in his easy chair and read the paper and watch a little TV, and she'd bother. He would sit like this. I do that too. I do that. What are you, sucking your thumb, you big baby? Oh my God, he couldn't even just sit and read the freaking paper. But when he came home, I hoped that without me saying so, he would notice how she was treating me and intervene and shut her down and make her stop. Because if I opened my mouth and said something, I would be punished. And then there was the time, how old was I? I don't know, less than 10, younger than 10. And I don't know what she made for dinner for me. It was eggs, and I just didn't want them. I just didn't want the omelet. We called it eggy pie. I didn't want the eggy pie. So I ate a bunch of bread. And she yelled at me. You can't just live on bread. That's why you're so fat. What do you want to be, one of the stepsisters? You'll never be Cinderella. Stuffing bread into my mouth. Oh my God, I'll never be Cinderella. And I think I yelled back at her. Something like, and it wasn't terrible. Like, I'd never curse at her. I don't think I knew how to curse. I said something, but I don't want it. I don't like it. You. And I ran. Because she was going to hit me at the table. My father was there. Hey, what's going on? And I ran into the bedroom. And she came in with the wooden spoon. And I was on my back, on my bed, doing the bicycle kicks as a defense. She wasn't anywhere near me. I was doing the bicycle kicks to keep her away. Stop that! Stop that! Stop that! And I wouldn't stop, so she came closer and she got kicked. I didn't kick her, but she got in the way of my defense, my bicycle defense. How dare you! She screamed. You'll never forget this day. And I think I stopped for a second. Why? What do you mean? Why would I forget this day? It's the day you kicked your mother. To her credit, I've never forgotten that day. But over comes my father. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing to the kid? She didn't want to eat legs. What? You stay out of it. And then she would cut him down with some insult. She didn't call him gay, but it was a gay word. I don't know what kind of word it would have been in the 1970s. It wasn't the F word. It was something else. Stay out of it, you wimp, I think she would say. I'm like, I don't yell at Daddy. It's okay. I'll eat the eggs. Oh, it's too late now. Now, I wish I could tell you that these were isolated incidents. But they happened every day. It would be a very odd thing for it to be a nice day where she wasn't screaming at me, screaming at him, terrorizing us. But I thought, isn't there something my father could do? So I forgot how old I was when I started being a little more wise and mature. I think I said to my father, Dad, if you want to divorce Mommy, I understand. You have my blessing. He didn't. Oh, no, Lise, that's all right. The house. I thought maybe they divorced. I knew that some of my friends, not a lot of people were divorced in the 70s. It's very unusual to have a single parent. But I knew that they could split time between their father and mother, and they had two houses kind of thing, two homes. And I thought I could actually get away from her for a couple of days. Just be with Daddy. No, never happened. The house, the house, the house. So the enabler father, how do we deal with the grief of how angry we are at the enabler father if we had a narcissist, borderline, addict, alcoholic, abusive mother? They had no expertise in how to handle these personality disorders. It's not like they could go to a counselor and then you could kind of bait the abuser into saying something to belie that they were abusers and get any kind of, like, there was no help. And who was going to raise me? My father had to work. My mother hustled, but she hustled at things that she could still raise me. And when I got a little older and I could be left alone, she became a nanny. Not a live-in, like an after-school nanny. Yeah, that felt amazing, hearing about all the wonderful things she was doing with other people's kids. But I was grateful, because it got her out of the house. I could play music. And I could make my dolls talk out loud. I think I played with the dolls till I was 13, 14. I had all this pent-up energy. All this pent-up doll energy. Yeah, the enabler father. That's quite the role, huh? My best friend, God rest his soul, had one of those. He had an enabler father. Never forgave him. Died being out of touch, estranged from his parents. The abusive mother, the enabler father. He did not forgive him because my best friend was the scapegoat. He's the one who got hit and chased. And his brother was the golden child. No, he went no contact. But he was still very angry. It didn't really help him heal. I'm healing. Why? Because I have compassion for the situation. I was a victim and I know how that felt, and so was my father. It wasn't like it is today where, oh, well, I married you and 3 years in, you're horrible, so let's divorce. No. It wasn't like that. It wasn't so easy. She was already a divorcee from her first marriage, initiated by the first husband. She only raised my brother till he was 8. Plus, the first 9 years of their marriage without me, oh boy. They were so adorable, and they went out, and they went to clubs, and there was some pictures of them at the Tropicana, is it, or the Copacabana? I don't know, those supper clubs that you see in the old movies. They went there. And you would have a little table, maybe just a little plate of food, and these big gorgeous drinks, and you would dance, and there'd be singers, and they were out and about, my good-looking parents. They partied. They had good-looking friends, too. And then finally, after 9 years, I came along. And then when I was 3, they bought the house, the house, the house. And then 2 years after we moved in, I became 5 years old, developed my own personality, and started to try to differentiate as a human being, and everything happened. I have good memories, some good memories with my father. She would make him But once he was out with me, he was happy. Make him like take me to the park, and he'd carry me on his shoulders, and we'd go down the stairs called the stair park. Taught me how to ride a bike, very grouchily though. My dad was a grouch a lot of the time. It wasn't always because of her. His brother told me. My uncle. My father was difficult, moody, maybe a little bit of a narcissist himself. Do I love my father? Of course I do. You know, he passed in July of 2020. I understand. But I took the beatings for the both of us a lot of the time. He took them, but I tried so hard to keep the peace. And I really, so did she, figured she'd die first. She's 7 years older than he is, or was. She was a little older. Nope, my father died first at 90 years old and left me with her. Again. Joy Heaven. She's coming, Dad. She's coming for you.